with stories. My name is Melinda, and I'm giving myself an intervention. I have not been paying great attention to the number of books I own until a few days ago when I looked and I almost fainted. My TBR, my owned TBR, is out of control. Let me tell you where we stand right now, or at least as a couple of days ago, and I'll explain why this may have changed. I currently own, across all three formats of print, digital, and audiobooks, 896 books that I have not read. I know that's horrible. That is absolutely horrible. I figured out if I average about 12 books a month, so 144 books a year. That would take me about 6 years. If I didn't add anything to my TBR and I didn't DNF anything, it would take me over 6 years to read all those books. I obviously need to do something about that. That is horrendous. So I've been thinking about what to do, and I want to share that with you all, both for accountability for myself, but also to plea to help, to kind of, I don't know, remind me that I need to do this, I should say. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take audiobooks out of the equation. I'm a slow audiobook listener. I do have a Libra subscription, and I do now, thanks to Michelle Obama and moving her podcast to Audible, I once again have an Audible subscription. I don't usually buy anything beyond my subscriptions with there, and I also frequently tend to use I have been known to use my credits to get books for the kids or books that I already have read but maybe need to reread for a book club, so like a refresher listen, something like that. So audiobooks at this point of time, I'm going to take out of the equation. I may in the future add them back in, but right now I am just worried about print books and ebooks. So once you take that out, I have 100, or at least as of a couple days ago, 174 print books that I own and have not read, and 652 ebooks. And that's a total of 826 books. And just based on those, that would take me over 5 years to read if I just read those, didn't DNF anything, and didn't bring anything else in. And I've got to be honest, I'm a library user too. So there's books that don't even come into my TBR that are read. So I guess the first question is, how did this happen? For a couple of things. First of all, as I said, I was a book blogger for a long time. I actually still have a couple arcs that I have not read way back from those days. At this point, I don't know if I'm going to, but for the time being, they're on my TBR. I have been a member of the Book of the Month Club since they rebooted several years ago. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not getting rid of that. I enjoy the Book of the Month Club. I think it's a good deal for me. So I'm going to keep it. I do have a subscription to the My TBR service through Book Riot, although I don't have the one that sends me books. I have the one that just sends me titles, which is great. Although sometimes I find myself buying those titles. Frequently, they are titles that my library doesn't carry. And so then I just go buy them, which is not always the best way to handle things. So there's that. I also have been known to go a little crazy at library book sales. Those things are dangerous. I'm sorry. When you get a book for, $1 or $2, a book that might even be a new release hardcover, that's hard to turn down. And then ebook sales. Now I've had a Kindle for probably over 10 years at this point. And I've had my Kobo for maybe 2 years, something like that. I'm not sure when I got my Kobo. But you can get really good deals on ebook sales. And what I have done in the past is I have put my entire wish list on either Amazon, the Kindle versions on Amazon wish list, or on Kobo, and then just check through them. When there was a sale, I'd pick it up. So yeah, that's how I got a lot of those. I am not, and I clearly have no self-control when it comes to books. That should be obvious, but I just wanted to let you know that's how this all happened. So the next step is, what am I going to do about it? Well, the first thing I did was I pretty much nuked my ebook wish list. I still have one on Kobo. I think it is all classics at this point. It's less than 20. And they're classics that I plan to read that I know I might have trouble getting in a print version that I can easily read. Let's go back in time. For those of you who don't know, I do have some eye issues which can make reading in print difficult depending on the book, the size of the print, the contrast between the print and the paper, all sorts of things. So I tend to, I read print and ebook, but I tend to get new books in ebook version. So I think that with these classics, I've read plenty of classics. They have small print. They tend to have small print. So I think with these, I'm going to have to go for ebook. They also don't go on sale very often. So there you go. So another thing is at the beginning of this year, I did a 2023 goals video, and I'm going to put a card up for that. You can go back and watch it, because in there I listed for my print TBR how much I wanted to reduce it by, and like where I wanted to be at certain points of the year. When I originally made this count, I was way off. That's been fixed since then, which I will get to, but I am going to stick with that. So I'm still holding true. I'm still holding to that goal that I outlined in that video. And then I am going to be better about hauling books. And right after I made this count, I did a little book haul. And I was able to pull 9 print books off my shelf, and I want to go over them really quickly with you. So the books that I hauled fall into 2 categories. And this first category are books that I'm removing from my physical TBR, but not removing from my TBR. I'm just going to put them up there. I have a couple of the Ellie Griffiths, Ruth Galloway books, which if you watch my channel, you know I like that series, and I'm reading that series, and then some Anne Cleeves books in both the Shetland series and the Vera Stanhope series, which I have not started. I think I have the first of each of those and then another one. The reason I'm hauling these is because these are ones I'm going to want to be reading on my Kobo anyway. I like to read things like mysteries at night before I go to bed, and I always read on my Kobo before I go to bed. It's backlit, it's easier on my eyes. That's just the best time for me to read on that. So why I even have these print books if I'm not even going to read them in this form makes no sense. All of these books came from the library sale, and all of these books are going back to the library sale. Most of them still have their price tags on it. They don't even have to do any extra work for it. But so yes, these books are still on my TBR, just not on my physical TBR. And the next category of books that I hauled are ones that are actually true unhauls. These are books that I have taken off my TBR completely for various reasons. The first book was another library sale. Actually, well, I have another one that was here, but this is a library book sale. Mary Alice Monroe, The Book Club. I don't know why I have this. I pulled this book off my shelf, and I was completely confused as to why it was even there. And I figure if this is a book that confuses me why I even have it, I shouldn't have it. I'm sure it's a good book. I'm sure it's the kind of book that a lot of people love. It's not the kind of book that really speaks to me right now. It's like women's fiction, so it's going. The next book was also from a library book sale, and it's a book I heard a lot about. It's The Other Black Girl by Zakiya Delilah Harris. The premise is very interesting. That's why I was originally called to it. However, I have just seen so many people who've read this book and did not like it. And a lot of those people who didn't like it were people of color. And I figure if they don't like it, there's something that's not quite working with this book. And I just don't feel motivated to spend my time trying to figure that out. I'm just going to take their advice. They know better than I do. So this one is gone. And finally, I have a book called Tell Me Everything by Amy Hatvani. Now, Amy Hatvani is an author that I have loved in the past. I would read all of her books. You know what? I think I should probably hold it on this side. I always forget that. This particular book is sort of interesting. So this was a book that was rejected by her publisher, and she decided to self-publish it. And I bought it when it came out just because Amy Hatvani wrote it. And as I was going through, and it's just been sitting on my shelves ever since. And when I was going through my books, I actually looked to see what this was about. I don't know if it's actually erotica, but it definitely has a high sexual content. Not that I have anything against it, but the story, it looks like it's about basically swinging gone wrong, which is not something that appeals to me, and I have no interest in reading that. So this is going, I don't know if I'm going to put this in the bag by the door to go to a little free library, or if I'm going to take it to the library book sale, but one of those. This book is, I'm just not going to read it, so why is it on my shelf? And I do hope that Amy Hatvani gets back to writing the sorts of books that she was publishing with a publisher, because I think that the fact that a publisher turned this book down, I know that she put a lot of work into it. And I appreciate that, but I also think that publishers see things that maybe sometimes authors don't. Not always. Sometimes publishers pass on great books that they should have published, but I just didn't get a good feeling about this one. So those 9 books, actually these 9 books that I have unhauled actually bring me down to 165 print books, which is where I wanted to be at the end of March. So that is really good as long as I stay on this trajectory. So the next thing I really needed to look at is buying new books. As I have said, I'm not giving up my Book of the Month subscription. I'm just not going to do it. And I'm not going to give up my TBR subscription. I don't actually need to buy books for that usually. And I know a lot of people, and I have so much respect for this, do no-buy challenges or the read what you own challenge, and those are great. I am not knocking the challenge. However, I know myself. And I know if I did a challenge like that, it would backfire on me. Either I would just like crash and burn on it, or I would be successful in the challenge, like say I'm not going to buy any more books until I've read 25 books. Great. And then I would go out and buy 50 books. In the long run, that sort of challenge is not going to work for me. It works for a lot of people, and there's nothing wrong with those challenges. It's just that I know myself. So I was kind of thinking of how to do this, because I am going to continue to read books in the library, and there are going to be times when I buy new books. I already have some books on pre-order that are coming, so there you go. I've been very selective about what I pre-order. When I pre-order a book in print, I pre-order with the thought that I'm expecting this to be good enough to go on my keeper shelf. You know, obviously I won't know till I read it, but that is at least the expectation. So Gem of Books does something very interesting, and I don't think I'm going to adopt it, but not do it exactly the same way. I think she does it a little differently than I do, but I'm going to at least say how I'm going to do it. I am going to keep track of how many of my own print and ebooks I read during a month. So I think in February there will be 6. I'll have to check on that. I should have checked on that number beforehand. We still have a few days left in the month, so it might change. So let's just say 6. That means in March, I could buy up to 3 books. I can do half of the number that I read the month before. Now, a couple caveats. 1, I can't carry this over. I can't not buy any in March and then buy 6, say, in April. It's use it or lose it. 2, other than March, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to go negative in March, I'm not going to allow myself to go negative. If I want a book and I've already used up whatever, book allowance I have, then I have to wait. I have to wait and buy it the next month. Or I have to think about, is this something that I really want? Now, what's going to count and what I bought? Book of the Month books count. A book that I may purchase with a gift card that was gifted to me counts. Books that don't count. Books that were gifted to me. So if someone just gives me a book, which doesn't happen that much because people don't know what I've read, so it doesn't happen that much. But if someone gives me a book, I'm not going to count that. I very rarely win giveaways, but if I do, I am not going to count a giveaway because I can't. That was not something that I necessarily planned to get. I'm also not going to count books that I buy for example, a book that I've read from the library or digitally that I want on my keeper shelf and I buy a hard copy. That's not going to count. So that's my plan. I'm going to limit myself on what I can buy with really these are my guidelines. This is what you have to do going forward. I know telling myself don't buy books is not something that's realistic. So in my tag video that came out on Tuesday, you saw how I choose my books for the month. I'm going to continue doing that. And as I said, like my TBR basket, if you saw it last week, I didn't get to add anything beyond my Book of the Month books and 1 giveaway book because it was full. I had plans to visit some independent bookstores in Arizona. I don't think that's going to happen this trip. We'll save it for the next trip. My father lives down there, so unless we can convince him to move up here, I will be going back down to Arizona again in the future. I will have other opportunities. So limit myself there. So going forward, I wanted to put some steps in place to kind of keep me on track. One is I'm going to include when I do my monthly wrap-ups. My February monthly wrap-up will probably be next Thursday, possibly Tuesday. I'm going to report back on how I'm doing with this. Probably won't be much to report for this first month because I just started this, but I am going to report back. I'm also going to start doing monthly book hauls. I'm not going to do it for February, but I will start with the March because hopefully that book haul will be very small, like 3 books. And then I'm also going to do something that I have seen other book bloggers do, notably Greg at Supposedly Fun, where, for example, in the beginning of March, he will do a book haul revisit of the books that he hauled in previous Marches and decide, did I read this? Did I like it? Did I not read it, but I'm still planning to, or am I going to unhaul it? And I'm going to start doing that as well. Now, obviously that's not going to happen for another year, but that is down the road. But I am going to start doing book hauls. I've never really done book hauls before. So that is something I'm going to do to keep myself accountable. And so that's it. As I said, I will be updating you all each month on how I'm doing with this. I don't know if there's anything else I can do to kind of keep that up. If you guys have any ideas, please let me know. If you stayed through this whole video, congratulations, you deserve a gold medal. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and you can subscribe to my video. And if you ring the bell, you will know the next time I babble in front of my iPhone and put it on YouTube. And all my contact information is in the description box below. Thank you very much, and I will talk to you in the next video. Thanks.